Hello, students. I'm Sam sir, and we are in chapter 5 of your book on geography named Fundamentals of Human Geography. This is part 1 of the two parts of videos that this chapter is in. And you have one chapter, the next one, chapter number 6, which was secondary activities because of the pandemic in the year 2021 examination. That one has been removed from the syllabus. So the next chapter after this will be chapter number 7, and that is about tertiary and quaternary activities. Now, what do we mean by economic activities? Any activities done by humans which generate income are known as economic activities. These are simple definitions. The meanings are very simple, very easy to understand. So it will help to you if you pay attention. Economic activities are broadly grouped into primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary activities. There's also one quinary activity. Primary is to do with environment directly. Secondary is to do with production, that is factory manufacturing. Tertiary is to do with trade and commerce and transport and communication and services. Quaternary is to do with information based activities and research and development based activities. The culinary activities that you're going to learn in chapter number 7 are based on specialist activities, decision making, consultancy, and policy formulations. Now, back in our chapter, primary activities depend directly on the environment. Here, the Earth's resources such as land, water, vegetation, building materials, and minerals are utilized. For you to understand and make it simple for you, see, there are four domains of Earth. You have the lithosphere. When we say lithosphere, we're talking about land. You have atmosphere. When we talk about atmosphere, we're talking about air. Then you have hydrosphere. Hydrosphere is to do with water, whether it's fresh water, flowing water, or seawater. And then you have the biosphere. Biosphere is where these three domains coincide under limits which make life possible on Earth. So, any activities, any economic activities which are based on these four are known as primary activities. Now, hunting and gathering, pastoral activities, fishing, forestry, agriculture, mining, and quarrying are all examples of primary economic activities. People engaged in primary activities are called red collared workers. This is due to the nature of their work. You know what are white collar workers? Now these ones are known as red collared workers because they are in touch with nature. They get their hands dirty with work. Now we, uh, let's learn about hunting and gathering. Now there are some societies which subsist on hunted animals and edible plants which they gather from the forests in their vicinity. Now these societies are the ones which are very primitive. Till today, they practice hunting and gathering activities. Even as the earliest human beings did, till now they do it. You can find tribals in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Then you have people also in Orissa in the forest areas. They are actually doing uh, hunting and gathering. They are subsisting, they are managing to survive on what they get from the environment directly by hunting or by going to the forest and gathering something to eat. People living in very harsh climatic conditions subsist on hunting. People on coastal plains practice fishing. Fishing is also a type of hunting, and they have different levels of technological advancements. Some use very modern tools for hunting, uh, and some use very primitive tools. Usually, when we're talking about people who are doing hunting and gathering, they are basically doing it with primitive methods. They may have guns, but they are the older uh, ones. Some use still use bows and arrows and catapults. This is an example of the Eskimos, because they do not have agriculture possible in their land, so they subsist on hunting. Here they have hunted a whale. Now, poaching, which is illegal hunting, has endangered many species and have pushed some to extinction. This is banned in India, but still such hunting or poaching takes place quietly. The hunters use tools or weapons of different technological advancements. These hunters or these poachers are usually uh, not concerned about the environment. Only thing they have the aim is to get the animal somehow. If they want tigers, they want the tigers with good skin, because that is what is going to sell properly, rather than one with a wound. So they trap tigers or they poison them. Hunting and gathering are the oldest economic activity known. This is carried out at different levels. This is basically a subsistence activity. Now, when we say subsistence, we are talking about just meager survival. And for just mere survival, three things are required: food, shelter, and clothing. These people who are practicing hunting and gathering are mainly doing it just to stay alive, just to manage to stay alive. You have a saying in Hindi, you say roti, kapda, and makan. So you have roti, that is food, you have kapda, that is clothing, and makan, that is shelter. Even if the most basic uh, things are there, they are happy with that, and they have to remain happy with that. Now, here the capital, that is in money and technology required, is very small, and the yield per person is also very small. There is hardly any surplus left or produced. At best, one can go to the forest and gather fruits for 2 days. If that is done, then next day perhaps they don't have to go into the forest for gathering some more food. But they cannot do it for 3 days or 4 days, because the fruits may rot, and then they will not have anything to eat. Now, gathering is practiced in high altitude latitude zones such as North Canada, North Eurasia, southern Chile, low latitude zones such as Amazon Basin, Africa, North Australia, interior parts of Southeast Asia. In the north of Canada, you have Greenland, another place where uh, agriculture is not possible. North of Eurasia is Siberia, which again does not allow agriculture. Then you have Chile, which is right near the South Pole. Then you have the basin of Amazon where tribals are living. You have Africa, again a tribal country. You have the Aborigine tribals in the Australia, and some tribals in the Southeast Asia. Now, when we say gathering, which is market oriented, the goal is different, the aim is different, the objective is different. Whatever things can be gathered from the forest, which one would like to sell in the market, are not something which you can consume as food. Example is barks, leaves, roots, stems, uh, gums taken out from the stems. You have resins and fibers. They are collected and sold, and none of them can be eaten. Maybe one can eat some leaves and roots and stem, but nothing else. But these things, they produce compounds such as quinine. As you know, quinine is the medicine for malaria. Chloroquine is the artificial derivative of quinine. You have tannin for uh, use in tanneries. You have cork. It has got various domestic and industrial applications. and all of them have got good commercial value. So what gatherers do is they gather plants or such parts which have some properties or some speciality, and that they sell. Now such products obtained from the forest are used for manufacturing beverages. You know Coca-Cola, isn't it? That contains cocoa. Cocoa is derived from a fruit, and that is almost like a narcotic. It's habit forming. Yeah, they're used for manufacturing drugs. You have cosmetics, fibers, thatch, and fabrics. You have nuts for food and oil, and you have tree trunk, which give you rubber. Balata is like rubber, but it's not elastic, and it can withstand high temperatures. Also, it is used for manufacturing belts of machines. You have gums and resins. Gums also have some medical value. Resins are used for manufacturing of paints and varnishes. Products collected by gathering do not have much scope on the global level because these products cannot compete in the world market. Just the cost of collection, although it is negligible, the cost of logistics and transportation and all the duties and levies will make it uh, not competitive at all in the world market. And also, there are synthetic substitutes available, and often they have better quality and they are priced lower. So these products, they do not stand in competition against the synthetic products or the local products. This is cocoa bean from which Coca-Cola, that compound which gives flavor to Coca-Cola or all to all the colas is produced. Now we talk about pastoralism. The word pastoralism comes from pasture. Pasture is the land which has got grass and other plants growing, on which the herbivores, which are kept as domestic livestock, they can feed. And pastoralism then means taking the animals out so that they can feed on those plants in the open areas. This again is a practice of countries where technological development is not very high. This is the practice of animal rearing and husbandry, animal husbandry. This is practiced at different scales, depending on the technological development, geographical factors, and intended use. Countries like New Zealand or Australia, where they keep merino sheep, they will be using technologies which are available to them, and people who are still keeping sheep, maybe in Africa or in the interiors of India, they will be hardly using any technology. No vaccination, no RFID, nothing. Then the geographical factors, when you consider, you may have the herding done on the Himalayan mountains, can also be done in the desert regions of Rajasthan. They are the geographical factors. On the mountains, then you have to follow some pattern because it will be cold and covered with snow certain times of the year. Then, of course, it is the intended use. What is the intended use of uh, animal husbandry? Is it for meat? Is it for milk? If it is for milk, then of course the animals will not be slaughtered. Then different animals such as sheep, goats, cattle, yak, llamas, sorry about the cough, camels, reindeers, etc. are reared. And this again depends on the geographical factors and conditions because, as you know, yaks can be found at a certain altitude. Llamas have their own areas. Reindeers they require cold climate. Camels live in the deserts, etc. Now we talk about what is known as nomadic herding or pastoral nomadism. Both mean the same thing. The herders who are practicing pastoral nomadism, they rely on animals for food, clothing, shelter, tools, and transport. They keep moving along with their animals, uh, and that depends on the availability of pasture and water. If they find pasture in place X, then they stay there for some time, then they move to place Y and then to Z, and keep on moving like that. But even though it appears that they are homeless people, no, that's not right, because they have well defined territories. The regions where pastoral nomadism is practiced is these three. The core regions are in the Atlantic shores of North Africa, South Arabian Peninsula, goes well into Mongolia and central China. The tundra regions of Eurasia in the southern hemisphere, we have small areas in southwest Africa and on the island of Madagascar. Now, we look at the pattern of nomadic movement. It is either horizontally, that is over vast distances, uh, or they are vertical, like it's from one elevation to another. It is from, let us say, a higher elevation to a lower elevation during the winter time, and it is from lower elevation to higher elevation at the summertime. Now, there's a term known as transhumance, and this means the process of migration from plain areas to pastures on mountains during summer, and again from pastures to plain areas during winter, along with their animals. Right? So, if you're asked the definition of this, you write that this is transfer of human beings along with their animals from one region to another. Their animals follow them, one pasture to another. Uh, in the southern hemisphere, it may be the other way around, because they'll be moving um, uh, when different months. When we have winter in the northern hemisphere, those months they have the summer in the southern hemisphere, and vice versa. This is a picture of transhumans, a human being traveling with his animals. In India, we have the Gujars, Bakarwas, Gaddis, and Bhotias. They migrate from plains to mountain in summer and to the plains from mountains in the winter, because in winter the mountains will be covered with snow. The nomadic herders in the tundra region also follow similar movement. The number of pastoral nomads is decreasing nowadays, and their area of operation is shrinking. This is because of two reasons, and this is to do with international politics. There is often a dispute about the boundaries of countries, and such nomadism is common on the boundaries of countries. So the government of the countries, they impose boundaries, political boundaries. This is one reason. The second reason is different countries, they have different settlement plans that also restricts the movement of the nomads. A photo of the Bakarwas in the Himalayas. Now we talk about something else. This is totally different because this is for commercial purpose. When we say commerce, we mean business, we mean productivity, we mean modern techniques, we mean to make money. So this is more organized and capital intensive than nomadic herding. This has got a purpose. This has got the purpose of either we want meat or the hides or the milk. Uh, this is the purpose of livestock rearing on commercial scale. So commercial livestock ranching is associated with Western cultures and is practiced on permanent ranches. Why does the textbook say it's associated with Western cultures? Because especially in the United States of America, you have the terms known as cowboys, and cowboys are supposed to be uh, fashion icons also, with their cowboy hat and with their Wrangler jeans and their macho looks, and with the Marlboro cigarette. That is how the association has come into being. And ranches are large areas, they have divisions of parcels of lands, and these are fenced in order to regulate the grazing. The number of animals in the pasture is kept as per the capacity of the pasture. This is a picture of a ranch. In commercial livestock rearing, only one type of animal is reared. It is either sheep, all the sheep, or cattle, all the cattle, goats, all the goats, or horses, all the horses. It's like that. The ranching is done on a scientific basis. There is an emphasis on breeding of pedigree. They want to maintain the pedigree and the phenotypical features. They do genetic improvements. They want the animals to be more yielding. More they want more yield of milk. They want more yield of meat, and they want the animals to be more resistant to diseases. They want to control the diseases using vaccinations and modern veterinary science methods. And healthcare of the animals are also taken well care of. The products may be meat or wool, hides, and skin, and these are processed and packed in a scientific manner and exported to different world markets. The best examples are New Zealand, Australia, Argentina, Uruguay, and the United States of America. Out of this, New Zealand, Australia, and Uruguay, they are good producers of wool. So, with this in mind, we have ranches which are very modern. They have modern facilities on their grounds. They have very good quality laboratories with modern equipment and trained people. They really work hard at developing good breeds. They have pathological centers for diagnosis and healthcare. Now we talk about agriculture. This is practiced under various combinations of physical and socio-economic conditions, and this gives rise to different types of agricultural system. What gives rise to different types of agricultural system is the variations in physical and social and economic conditions. Different methods of farming are employed, and different crops are grown and livestock raised. Now let's talk about subsistence agriculture. You know the meaning of the word very well. This is just for survival. The bare minimum thing required for survival, that is uh, the literary meaning of subsistence. So it has got two types, two categories: primitive and intensive. And people living in the areas where such agriculture is practiced, they consume almost all or nearly all of the crop which is produced. They actually do it for their own families. This is also known as shifting or slash and burn cultivation, and this is practiced in many backward areas of the world. What is done is a small area is taken and it's set on fire to burn all the plants, and either that or they use machetes to cut the plants growing there. That is slashing and burning. The patches are very small, and the agriculture, the method of farming is also primitive. They use sticks and hoes and primitive tools. And after 3 to 5 years, the soil loses its fertility. And when that happens, the farmer goes to another patch of forest and slashes it and burns it and does agriculture there for another 3 to 5 years till it loses its fertility and then keeps on moving. In India, in the northeastern states, such agriculture is known as jhoom or jhooming. This is what is done. Um, this is jhooming for you. They burn portions of land and later on they will be planting crops there. Now, when we say intensive subsistence agriculture, there are two types. One where paddy is the dominant cultivation. paddy is rice, it yields rice. And then there are crops other than paddy. Now, as the name indicates, intensive means it requires more inputs, it requires more labor. It's difficult to do and difficult to maintain. In primitive, it was just the nature providing, and you move afterwards. In intensive, you do not leave the field year after year, you are using the same field. And this is practiced in densely populated regions of the Asia where monsoon is the source of water precipitation. This wet paddy cultivation requires a lot of water. The dominant crop is rice, and because of high population density, the land holdings are very small, and farmer and his family members they provide the labor, and this leads to intensive use of land. And this is mostly manual labor. You're not working with tractors or with harvesters. Your machinery is very minimum. Most probably they use just bullocks and the primitive tools, and manure is used as fertilizer. And the yield per unit area is high, but the productivity, when you consider the number of laborers who were involved in the process, the productivity becomes low. Now, when we talk about crops other than paddy, uh, because of difference in relief, climate, and soil, and other geographical factors, it's not possible to grow rice in all over the monsoon areas of Asia. So other crops are grown, such as wheat, soybean, barley, and sorghum, and millets. And in paddy, you're not doing irrigation artificially, but for other crops you have to use irrigation. Then the Europeans, when they settled in different parts of Asia, they introduced plantations, which were a profit-oriented large-scale production system, and they had their markets way back in Europe. So one such is coffee plantation. Now, plantation agriculture includes products such as coffee, tea, cocoa, rubber, cotton, palm oil, sugarcane, bananas, pineapples. These are some examples. The French established cocoa and coffee product plantations in West Africa. The British did that up for tea in India and Sri Lanka, and they did it for rubber in Malaysia, for sugar cane and banana in West Indies. The Spanish and Americans did that with coconut and sugar cane in Philippines. The Dutch once had monopoly of over all the sugarcane plantation in Indonesia. Europeans still manage what they call as fazendas or plantation of coffee in Brazil. And today, either the government of the country is owning such plantations or the nationals of these countries they own the plantations. There are certain features of plantation agriculture. These eight. First of all, they are done on large estates. These estates themselves are known as plantations. They are intensive. They require large capital as investment. Uh, they require managerial support and technical support. They require scientific methods of cultivation, and they all are doing single crop agriculture. If it is rubber, it's only rubber. If it is pineapple, it's only pineapple. If it is coffee, it's only coffee. And they get laborers who work for them for low wages. In India, when you consider West Bengal, the Siliguri and Darjeeling area, where a lot of tea is grown, the laborers who are working there are from Bihar or Uttar Pradesh or Orissa, who work for very little money, and lot of labor is required. So it's labor intensive. And then these plantations are located in such a way that transportation is easy. Transportation to the market. Often they have some processing also. In south of India, where coffee is grown, they also process the coffee and bring it to marketable condition, and then it's transported out. That also preserves the quality of the product. This is oil palm plantation, and this is the end of part 1 of the chapter. Be sure to watch the second part also, which I'll be posting soon hereafter. Give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Bye till then.